I can't believe I'm here, but I don't know what else to do. I love my wife, but I'm really scared that she's doing something behind my back. I can't talk to friends and family because it's too embarrassing and messed up. I think my coworker may have banged my wife, and it's looking like that may be true. I am Mike, 36, and I met my wife, Anna, 32, in a mall in our city back in 2014. Anna was in the food court line when I saw her. It's a funny thing. I was actually trying to go to another restaurant, but the line was too long. Getting in line at the restaurant where she was, I saw her standing at the front. When she looked at me, I couldn't believe how gorgeous she was. When she saw me, she laughed and said she wasn't in line for food. Anna said her cousin worked there, and she was waiting for her to come out. I was happy as hell that she spoke to me because I couldn't figure out what to say to her. Thanks to that, I was able to break the ice with being humorous, and we talked while she waited for her cousin. I could see I was definitely making a good first impression with her. I asked her, while she waited for her cousin, did she want me to buy her some food? And she said she wanted a strawberry lemonade instead. After buying it, we talked some more, and I continued to be flirtatious and funny with her. When her cousin came out, I asked for her number, and she gave it to me before they left. After that, I did everything I could to sweep her off her feet. After going on some dates, events with me and my friends, hanging with her and her friends, we made it official. We were dating. In 2017, Anna and I got married. After having 3 kids, we had our own family. After having 2 girls, and our son being the middle child, we grew into being great parents for our kids. It wasn't easy, but we gave up always going out to clubs and concerts, though we still found time here and there to have fun. Our nightlife was definitely cut in half for sure. I was happy to have Anna as my wife, and I felt very lucky. She had a great character, but she was so gorgeous that my friends even gave me props. Anna is Cuban and looks like a cross between the girl who played Wonder Woman and Salma Hayek. She's curvaceous, has tattoos on her arms, and always has a ponytail. You'd know her for sure by her always wearing a type of ponytail, especially in her selfies. We make good money since I work as a maintenance man, and Anna and her sister are interior decorators and make good money too. Technically, her sister is the interior designer. Anna just jumped on board when she saw it was getting successful. I love my job, and I've worked here for 7 years, but I never thought someone here would get to my wife. The draw came last Wednesday. There's a guy that works in the shipping area. Let's call him Dave. I'm not really friends with Dave, but he's an acquaintance to me, and we talk during lunch. The most time I hung out with him was probably when we were shooting dice in the parking lot at the job. We only hang at lunch and talk about the basketball games. One weekend my car had brake problems, and I couldn't drive it to work, so my wife drove me there and picked me up. After the first time, she accidentally came too early and had to wait about 30 minutes for me to come out. When I came out, I saw her laughing and talking to Dave and a girl that works in the office. Let's call her Brenda. After introducing her as my wife, we had small talk for a little while, and we left. Looking back, I think that is where it all began. I think Dave may have gotten to my wife, and it started that week when she had to come and pick me up from work. When I got off work, I would see my wife hanging with Dave and Brenda. They would be in the office, hanging out with rap music on Dave's Beats by Dre That's connected to his phone. Anna said she liked talking to Brenda and would hang out in the office with her and Dave. I know Brenda and Dave lived close to each other, so they were good friends, and that's why it didn't really bother me to see him around them as well. Since that week, Anna would come to my job to talk and hang with Dave and Brenda. Since Brenda was supposed to be Anna's friend, I didn't mind her visiting sometimes or talking on the phone, but Dave being around talking to Anna was something I overlooked. My wife gets a lot of attention, especially on Instagram, so I always tried to keep myself in check, even when I saw Anna and Dave talking without Brenda around. Jumping to conclusions would just piss me off, and we'd be arguing in Spanish every day. Last Wednesday was when my fears came up about my wife possibly cheating on me. One day when leaving my job, I was telling a friend at work goodbye. He was on the phone at the time and said goodbye as well. I stopped when he told the person on the other line that it was me telling him goodbye. I was curious because he said my name like this person knew me. I asked him who he was talking to, and he just smiled and said it was an old coworker of ours. Telling me to wait, he said this person wanted to talk to me really quick. Giving me the phone, I was actually happy to hear from this guy. Talking to my old coworker, let's call him Tony, we caught up. since I didn't know why he left. He said his brother worked in a warehouse in Atlanta, and Tony said he moved down there since his brother promised him a job with him. Then he had decided to rub it in by saying how now he makes more than us in a playful way. After catching up, he said he wanted to ask me for my phone number because he wanted to talk to me about something. I said sure, and he told me to DM him my number on Facebook. I said okay, and gave my friend his phone back. After sending him the number, he called immediately. I didn't even make it to my car yet. Picking up, I asked him what was up. He asked me was I in the car, and I said yeah. He said not to drive yet because he really had to tell me something. This really sounded strange as hell, so I asked him what he was talking about. He said I can't tell anybody told him this. I agreed. He asked me was Anna still coming up to my job, and it surprised me. I said yeah. And he asked me was Dave still talking to Anna, and I said yeah. He was making me nervous, asking about them. He told me he didn't want to start anything, but he thinks Dave banged my wife. He said since he doesn't work with us anymore, he didn't care, so he wanted me to know this. Hearing this sent a big chill down my spine. I asked him how he knew this, and he said he had seen them when he worked with us. Tony was a floor leader, so he moved between departments. He said while walking he always saw Anna and Dave talking to each other, and he told our coworkers he really wanted to bang Anna. He said he would always make comments about her. I asked Tony when he would see them together, and he said it was almost an hour before lunch. He said he would see her talk to Brenda sometimes, but he saw her talking to Dave more. Tony said, even though it looked like he was flirting with Anna, he didn't know if something might be happening until she visited him on Saturdays when Dave's department had to work overtime. This was a surprise to me because I almost never worked overtime. It didn't make sense why she would be there. I asked Tony was he sure she was there on Saturdays, and he said he was definitely sure. He said he was pretty sure Dave might be banging her when she had visited one Saturday. Since there's not a lot to do on a Saturday, they had a lot of free time, and Dave would have his Beats by Dre music speaker playing. Even though Anna was there hanging out, this was normal to Tony. But after a while he came back and said he heard loud Spanish music playing. Looking in, Tony said things were getting sexual with Anna and the guys. He said Dave had Anna by her neck while she twerked for him. My wife wasn't exactly bootylicious, but she had enough that she could twerk if she wanted. I froze when Tony told me this. I asked was he sure, and he said he was absolutely sure and that he's not blind. He said everybody watched as she bounced it for him, and he even lifted her shirt to show her butt and her leggings. I asked him, did she try to stop Dave, and he said no. He said all she did was laugh and twerk for him while he had her by her neck. He said she looked like she was trying to win a contest. I couldn't believe what I was hearing from Tony. He said he was sorry, and I needed to keep my wife from him. He said that included Brenda as well. I said thanks for telling me all this and hung up. Not long after, I felt very humiliated by this. Driving back home, my head was racing like crazy. What was worse, Anna twerking for Dave had been 7 or 8 months ago. Who knows what's been going on ever since then? They probably took it to his place, and she did more than twerk there. I had to ask Anna what was going on and see if she'd be honest with me. Getting back home, my wife was on the phone with her mom. After some small talk, I asked her, did you meet with Brenda today? And she said yeah. I asked her, did you see Dave as well? And she said no. I told her I was actually surprised because they seemed like the Three Musketeers. She told me Dave really doesn't hang around that much, and it's just her and Brenda, which even I know is total bull. After that, my wife just walked past me and into the kitchen for her phone and started texting, probably her friends. I couldn't believe my wife flat out lied to me about her relationship with Dave. Even I noticed how much he was around her, and I was hurt by what was looking obvious right now. After that, all I could do was watch her make dinner for our kids and feel sad about what was going on. I'm really depressed, and my head got me in a combination of rage and tearing up right now. I need proof that something's going on, but it's going to be really hard since it involves people that work with me. I don't want to lose my job, and I can't use what Tony said because it was just talking, and that's not good enough for divorce. Besides, they'll both just lie and say it didn't happen. Plus, my wife can say she was bringing Dave lunch or something, and the old lady that's the security guard would let her in. I have to assume my wife cheated on me. My wife had secretly met up with Dave and twerked for him, and that was 8 months ago. So much time had passed, and there's no telling what happened since then. I need to know how to get actual proof so I can use it in divorce if everything is true. I need to be careful because I don't want to lose my job, and I know her family will attack me if I don't get evidence. Update 1. I want to thank everybody for letting me know how to find out about what's going on with my wife and my coworker, who I think she's cheating on me with. It helped me, especially since I couldn't go to family and friends because of the possible embarrassment, and it's getting worse with all the things I've been noticing, and it's definitely possible my coworker is banging my wife. To bring people up to speed on this, my wife Anna had to pick me up from work because my car needed new brakes. While waiting for me to get off work, Anna met and became friends with a girl that works in the front office named Brenda and a co-worker who worked in shipping named Dave. When I got off the floor, I'd always seen them listening to rap music and talking. After being good friends with them, my wife would come to my job on her day off and hang with them around their lunch. However, a couple of weeks ago, I got a call from an old co-worker that devastated me. This guy used to work with us named Tony and said Dave might have gotten to my wife. He said he saw them talking privately, and it looked like they were flirting. He said this would happen an hour before Dave's lunch, and it was very suspicious. What was worse is when he said that when he and Dave would work overtime on Saturdays, Anna would come to visit them. He said at first he wasn't going to say anything, but one Saturday he saw something that made him tell me. After Tony left, he said when he went to the shipping dock, he heard Spanish music playing. He said looking in, he saw my wife dancing and twerking for Dave. He said at first they were just playing around, but then they got sexual and aggressive. He said Anna allowed him to grab her by the neck and lift her shirt up to see her butt. He said at first they were playing around, but he could tell that it was getting serious, especially how they looked at each other. At first I was making excuses for my wife, asking him if he was sure it was her. He shut that down by saying he was definitely sure it was her, especially since Anna was Cuban, had tattoos on her arms, and always wore a ponytail. Tony said after he saw that he left to go home. I just couldn't believe what he was telling me. Not only is it bad that my wife was twerking on Dave, but this happened 8 or 9 months ago. So much time had passed by, and who knows what she was doing now for Dave. I'm grateful Tony told me about this, but I think he might be too late telling this information. I wish he would have been a man and told me at the time, but it looked like thanks to him, Dave definitely got to my wife, all because he didn't want to snitch on Dave. When I got home, I asked Anna about her friendship with Dave. She said she talks to Dave sometimes, but he doesn't really be around, and she usually just talks to Brenda. I knew this was BS because sometimes I saw them myself. Thanks to Tony, I see how this game of hers is being played. She was using her friendship with Brenda as an excuse to really see Dave. After talking to Tony and hearing Anna lie about her and Dave, I began snooping on my wife around the house. I can't get in her iPhone because she has a hard passcode, and she's always on it gossiping with her mom and her sister every day. Instead, I would eavesdrop on her conversations, and the ones she had late at night bothered me. She would go on the back porch and talk, and I would go out our side door to listen to who she was talking to. After listening, I could tell she was probably talking to Dave. I would hear her say, "Stop, you're crazy," or, "Yes, we had fun at a certain club in a suburban area of where we live." I even heard her say, "I can't go over there, I'm sure." She went over to his house, but just hearing one side, I couldn't be all the way sure. When she came in, I asked her who she was talking to, and she said her sister Brenda or somebody else. All the giggling and whispering told me it was total BS. It was then that I really must have been blind before Tony called, because I saw nothing but red flags afterward. I never saw her without her phone. Now she doesn't talk to me and says she's busy, and when I wanted to sleep with her, she found it hilarious and said she didn't want to do it with our kids in the house. When I asked when that has ever stopped us, Anna would say, "Just leave me alone. You're crazy." She said besides, she wasn't in the mood. All this stuff before Tony called and after is not looking like my wife has been faithful. Why did I ever think all this was normal? Last Saturday, I think I caused her to miss a chance to be with Dave, and she was pissed. After I got off work, Anna called me while I was driving home. She said she planned to go out again and that I had to cook for the kids. I immediately assumed she was trying to meet with Dave and lied, saying I was going to run errands before coming home. She said she was already getting ready to leave, and I said tell her sister to watch the kids, already knowing she couldn't. After trying to guilt me into forcing her to stay home, I told Anna, "I'm allowed to go out and do things too, and I may not be back till later." Anna said, Whatever. And she hung up on me. Later that night, she had an attitude with me, and when I said just 2 words to her, she just blew up on me. She said I ruined her night, and I said I didn't care. I told her me needing to run errands was more important than her just hanging out. Anna said I didn't say anything about running errands, and I told her she didn't say anything about going out. When I asked her who she was hanging out with, she said to just forget it. After getting out of the shower, I noticed she was outside on the porch talking on her phone. Seeing as she looked irritated, I'm sure she was talking about me. However, a couple of days ago took a turn for the worse. After I got off work that night, Anna cooked dinner. She came in the bedroom where I was looking at some new Jordans on my phone and told me dinner was ready. When I came in the dining room, she was all dressed up, getting ready to leave. I asked her where she was going. She said she was going out with some friends and that I had to watch the kids. I asked who she was going out with, and Anna said her friends again. I told her she couldn't just up and leave, and she told me to stop trying to control her. After that, she walked out the door with an attitude. I was super pissed, because I knew what this was about. She was still mad about the Saturday where she couldn't see Dave, and she was obviously sad about it since then. My wife didn't come back till about 2:30 in the morning. That whole night, I was texting her, and her only reply was, "Please stop texting me." And I was pissed. When she finally came in, I was playing our son's PlayStation, and when I saw her, we started arguing. I asked her why she came home so late. She just said she was hanging out with her friends, and I wasn't trying to hear any of that. I told her I was supposed to be in bed, and here I was, waiting up for her to come back home. She said I never did complain when she got in late in the past and said I was always with her, so that BS argument doesn't work. She cursed me out and said I was practically trying to control her, and I said that's bull. After a while, our son came out to see what all the yelling was about and asked what was wrong. After that, Anna said she wasn't arguing with me anymore and stormed into the bedroom. Seeing the video game on, my son asked if he could play, and I told him just for a little while, then he had to go back to sleep. After agreeing, he started playing the game, and I wanted to continue to argue with Anna. I wasn't going to let her gaslight me about being some kind of controlling husband. She was the one coming in late. I always tried to be calm, but my suspicion got the better of me. Coming in at 2:30 a.m. was disrespectful, especially after how she left. After our argument, I went into our bedroom to continue arguing about when she left. When I walked into the bedroom, I was going to argue, but then I stopped mid-sentence at what I saw. When I walked in the room, my wife was getting undressed, and it looked like she was wearing a black thong. I guess my wife thought I would still be with our son, because she looked surprised when I walked in. My wife just stood there. She was wearing a piece of string, and I saw her for what she now was. After looking at me for a brief second, she showed me a look that said, "If you ask me, we're just going to argue." After she grabbed her pajamas off the bed, she decided to go in the bathroom to change. I couldn't believe what I just saw, and I can't lie. It stopped me in my tracks. I was crushed. I decided I was going to sleep on the couch because it was going to be awkward after that. My brain couldn't function after seeing that. I never saw my wife wearing a thong like that. It was practically her bare bottom in a black piece of string. To be fair, Anna does have sexy underwear, but it's been forever since she wore them. When we go on vacation, she likes to wear sexy bikinis, but it would be for Instagram. Even with that being the case, the string she was wearing was more like something on World Star. At this point, I see my wife as definitely being super suspicious and secretive. When I came on here, I saw everybody say I should record her doing or saying very incriminating stuff, so I'm already acting on it. I ordered a voice-activated recorder device and plan on putting it in her car. I asked a friend of mine if I could use his address for the delivery, and he said yes without any questions. I'll pick it up when he gets it in the mail. The last thing I need is for her to see the package and question me about what it is. I'm ready to blow this thing wide open, and I don't care what it costs. Thanks to Tony, a lot of my suspicions are on the money. I'll try to update. But I should be able to if I stop being confrontational and act as normal as my emotions will let me be. Update 2. Thanks to everybody who's helped me with what's been going on with me and my wife. I've been getting a lot of support for seeing if my wife has cheated on me, and it's been helpful to hear. This has been a terrible time, and conversations here were needed. It also helped me be stronger and smarter about finding out the truth. I really appreciate the support on this. However, The advice I got here has been kind of divided on how to deal with this. Some people said I should take the evidence and proof and use it against her. Other people said I should take the red flags and blow up the situation. I was trying to figure out what to do with this. But my wife forced my hand today, and yes, my wife broke her vows. To bring certain people up to speed, my wife Anna had to pick me up from work last year because my car broke down. While waiting for me to get off work, Anna became friends with a girl that works in the office named Brenda and a co-worker named Dave who worked on the shipping dock. At first, I didn't mind, and they hung out during breaks. Then they started hanging out outside of work. At first, I thought Anna only hung out with Brenda, but I was wrong. I got a call from an old co-worker named Tony that Anna hung out with Dave more than she did Brenda. Not only did he hang out with my wife, but he told other guys on the shipping dock that he wanted to bang Anna. He said he would see them, and it looked like he was always flirting with her. Tony said he got suspicious. Tony said they started being around each other too much, and one day when they worked overtime, he had caught her twerking for Dave. I really couldn't believe what he was saying. I asked him was he sure it was her, and thanks to her being Cuban, having tattoos, and always wearing a ponytail, he had described Anna perfectly. After this, I did some snooping, and that's when I saw all the red flags. All the hanging out without me, her always having her phone, and her deciding to not acknowledge me as her husband was proving what Tony said to be very true. People here said that my wife would slip up and just wait, and they were right about this. It's like Tony gave me the clear path, and all I had to do was wait until the path cleared up. This happened when Anna said she was going to watch a Pixar movie with our kids and their big cousins this past Saturday. This turned out to be some BS by her. My nephew, who was at the movies, said she was going to come and pick them up after the movie. I was surprised because I knew for a fact that she had said she was going to watch the movie. After hanging up with him, it only took me a little while to figure out where she went. Tony said Anna would come and visit Dave at work while they had to work overtime. This was the time when Tony said she would be twerking for Dave and spend the end of the shift with him. After getting up and driving all the way to the job, I made my way to the building. Her car was there, so I knew she was with Dave. Making my way to the small trucker's lounge, I knew I would find them there. And after I stopped to take a peek in, Anna was on all fours with Dave in her mouth. Anna twerking for Dave was about 8 months ago, though. Now he was holding my wife's head in his crotch. Grabbing my phone, I put the camera lens out far enough to record them and got about 7 seconds of this evidence of the truth. After this, I confronted them both in real fury I never put on anybody before. When I exploded on my wife, it hurt me because she seemed annoyed that they were being interrupted. Dave threw his hands up, looking more shocked than my wife. She asked me to please go away, and that really pissed me off. I asked her point blank how could she do something like that, and she yelled at me that she doesn't love me like that and to please just leave. When she told me that, I swear I almost fainted. After that, I had to pick up the pieces and drive all the way back home. After going off in a rage, I managed to calm myself down. I knew it was time to accept what happened, and that our marriage was over. She said she didn't love me like that. Then what did she love me as, if at all? It was then that I had to accept who I really was to her. Anna was the type that if somebody was to marry her, she had to be allowed to act entitled. I paid whatever to keep her happy, and she made me believe that's what a good husband was. She acted like I was lucky because she was a trophy, especially with the attention she gets. I believed it, especially since she was a good mom, and at first she was a good wife. She didn't love me, just the attention and love I worked hard to give her. That was also a problem as well. Anna was always an attention seeker. This had to be the reason she loved Snapchat and Instagram. She had a large number of followers, and 80% of them were men. Even that was bad. The comments were worse. That's why I had to have thick skin being with her, especially when she took pictures in bikinis when we went out to Vegas and when we went to Jamaica. Now, with the reality of her betrayal staring me in the face, I had no choice but to take action. I moved forward with the divorce, gathering all the evidence I needed to ensure a fair outcome. Anna tried to reach out several times, alternating between anger and pleading, but I stood firm. My children needed stability, and I couldn't allow her selfishness to disrupt their lives any further. With the support of my family, I focused on creating a loving environment for them, free from the toxic influence of a woman who valued her own desires over the well-being of her family. The process was painful, But as I watched my kids smile and thrive, I knew I made the right decision. It wasn't easy to let go of the dreams I once had, but I found solace in knowing I was doing what was best for us all. In the end, the truth set me free, allowing me to rebuild and look toward a future filled with genuine love and respect.